Okay, so this tutorial is a kind of quick breakdown of the other learning materials that have popped up for image editing summative task 2, in which I'd like you, with any photograph, it needn't be a landscape or an architectural shot, it can just as easily, as you'll see at the end of this tutorial, be a beauty shot. It can be anything. Basically, I'm just going to change the colour of one of these huts very, very accurately and reasonably quickly. Anyway, I'll go ahead and do it. So, I've already retouched this. I've optimised the raw and I've done a little bit of dodging and burning and obviously got my white balance and sharpened it, etc, etc. Okay, so it's kind of optimised and it's had some basic enhancements. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to work on this hut here, and I've selected this image because it's kind of difficult, or you would think it was difficult, in the method of selection that I'm going to use, which is colour range. I'm going to try and click on this and just select this blue, but there's blue all over the shop in this. There's the sky, there's the sea, these two other beach huts. So let's just go ahead and I'll show you how I can isolate this using a variety of different tools. So first thing is I go up to select and I go to colour range. Just click on that. And you can see I've already been playing about with this. I've got my fuzziness and I've got my range. Alright, and I'm on sampled colours, nothing else, just the sampled colours. So I'm going to just move the dialog to the side and I'm just going to click on this hut. Now using the sliders, the range, I'm going to try and isolate the hut. Alright, if I increase the fuzziness, I'm getting more of a selection. If I reduce it, I'm concentrating the selection. I'll just try and tighten that down a bit. Yeah, but what's happening here is I'm just getting this side. I need this side as well. So how do I do that? Well, if I click that, it's just going to click. It's just going to select that side. But if I hold Shift, if you look at the eyedropper here, if I hold Shift, it comes up with a plus sign. So I can click on that and I'm just going to scan all over this, just trace all over it so that I can get a broader selection. But as I do that, you can see here it's making a broader selection there as well. Now, I'm not going to worry about that. I can play all day trying to absolutely isolate it with the sliders, and it's not going to happen. So I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'll deal with this in the mask of the hue saturation, which is the next step. I'm going to click on the hue saturation, and what's happened here is it has automatically loaded the selection into a layer mask. Now I can see that an awful lot easier rather than looking at this tiny little thumbnail simply by holding down Alt and clicking on the mask, and it gives me a preview of it full size here. Now, how do I get rid of all that? Well, it's quite easy. I can just get my brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the blending mode of the brush, not of the layer, but of the brush, with ensuring that the mask is selected, and I'm going to change it to overlay. And I'll knock the brush up slightly, and it's at 100% flow, and I'll just paint here with white. Now anything within my selection that is white, I'm going to just gain more of it. But if I try to paint on the black, well, it's going to take an awful long time. I could keep on pushing, but it's not going to make the selection. So it allows me to refine my mask. It allows me to only isolate the area that I want. But what's happening with all this? Well, hit X, it changes to black. I'll knock the brush up a bit, and I'll paint over the other areas that I don't want. Now, I've got my finger right down on the mouse here, and there's certain areas that it's not selecting, but that's cool. Because if I release and then click again, then it will start to select. Now I'm just going to move it in so I can make an even more accurate selection. I'll just reduce the size of the brush and just go over this. And I'll just keep on painting and painting. Oops. And I'll just paint this out as well. Take this out here. And the roof, well, I don't want to really change the colour of the roof or any of that there. This here, or this here. I'm just going to change this back to white, and I'm going to paint over this a bit. I don't mind that's not colour, those lines in the slats. That's just shadow area. But I'm going to hit black again, so it's back and forward, and going over this. Just keep on painting that black. Release and click, release and click, release and click, and we can make some even more accurate selections just to really fine tune it once we come out of this preview, as you'll see in a wee minute. I'll take it as far as I can now, and there we go. Now to return to the original view, I simply hold Alt and click on it again, and there it is. Okay? Now, so that we can see what's selected and remove the areas that we don't want selected, let's just immediately go to the hue and saturation. So here it is, and here's the dialog for it. Now, what's very important here is that you click Colourize. If you don't, well, sure, everything will start to change colour a bit, but not as well as if you click Colourize. This will totally change the colour. So if I want it to be green, it can be green or red or even purple and whatever colour, all right? So let's just go with this, pink. Okay, now we can see with the pink, even if it's not the pink that I want to go with, say I wanted to go with the green, I'd probably go with the pink at the moment just to isolate, to illustrate where I have selections that I don't want selections. So this is opposite from the blue, therefore it's alerting me to there being areas that I don't want. So now I'll go back to my mask. And using my marquee tool, which is this, you could just hit M, I can click that, and I'm just going to make a selection right down there. Now I can, in the same way as we made the selection back in color range, I can hold down Shift again and make further selections to add to that. Okay. Now all I need to do is get my brush again and paint that out. I'm going to change this from overlay back to normal because I just want to mask that right out. So now if I just do Command D, I can move over here, get my marquee tool again, make the selection, drop it down, just move that in like so. I'll deal with that a little bit in a minute, I'll show you the second. Get my brush, paint that out, because it's only going to paint, it's only going to remove the area within that selection. I'll go and get my polygonal lasso. I'll hit Command D just to remove that, and I'll do that, and I'll click there, and I'll take that down like so, all the way down there because it's not perfectly straight. And when you see that 0, that means that you've completed your path, your selection. I'll get my brush and I'll just paint that out, just to make it nice and neat. Using this tool once again, I'll do the solar panel. I guess it's up here as well. I'll just come down. I can't actually see there, but I know it is there, so I might as well just take that out. Right along, complete that. Just going to knock that out of my rotor now. Get brush and remove all of that from there. I've just got one last wee bit here. Get this, deselect by Command D, which is what that means. Command D is deselect. And I'll take this down and do that. Get my brush, paint that out, and you can see there's a bit of a reflection of the pink on the underside. I'm just going to leave that there for now. Okay, so in the same way as I've done that, if I wanted to add, there's another bit that's annoying me. If I wanted to add more pink to my selection, I would just make the selection get my brush and paint in white, and I'll do that just now. So for instance, if I do Command D, get my polyangle lasso, do that to there, just making my selection as neatly as I can, and into there. I'll let this, I'm obviously trying to do this quite quickly so you don't get too terribly bored watching me make selections. But there we go, I've just swapped my foreground colour to white, get to my brush, and if I paint that, you can see it's starting to put the pink in there. Command D, zoom out, and there you go. Pink. Now, if I don't want the pink, if I want it to be green, I simply click on my hue saturation layer again, and I can change it to whatever colour I want. Okay? And it's as simple as that. And you don't need to flatten that. You can start to do other bits and pieces above. Say I wanted this to be darker, a richer green. Well, I can boost that up. That doesn't really go with the scene though, so I'm going to take that back down, and we'll maybe try and get a different, yeah, something like that. Aqua. Maybe take it, I don't know, I'm just playing about here. Let's try that. Now, what I could do, I could darken it by introducing a curves. Now, if I use the curves at the moment, it's going to affect the scene globally. But if I hold Alt and drag the mask from below up, then exactly the same mask is applied to my curves adjustment. And now, if I go in, I can just simply darken that, or indeed lighten it. Okay, so there's an awful lot in there, but you don't really recognise it at first. It's a case of what have we done? We've made a selection using colour range. In addition to that, we've talked about using the Shift key to make additional selections with the eyedropper. We've talked about using the Alt key to get a preview of a mask, and hitting Alt to remove that preview. And we've talked about moving the hue and the saturation, ensuring that Colourize is clicked on, and by darkening it, or how to darken it, would be using the curves, only the curves. And because you can target it very, very precisely, and we can return to it at any time and change your mind with the colours. Okay? Now, as I said at the beginning, it isn't only for architecture or beach huts. Here's one of Andrew's pictures that he had asked me to illustrate how to balance the lips. So in here, the model, you can see that the lipstick hasn't reached all the way here. Well, I just done exactly the same. I'll have to click this on there now, and I'll click these off. Basically, I made the selection, and I used the hue and the saturation slider to colorize that area, and then I darkened it using the curves adjustment by dragging exactly the same selection up to there. But then what I'd done was I made a new layer, and I got my, where is it? It's not that, it is this, healing brush. Not spot healing brush, don't use that. Healing brush, because it allows you to make your own selection. And I dragged, as you can see if I click on and off here, I was able to drag some of the texture from the lip onto the surface of the red, and then I made a new one and extended that even further. And then I took it a little bit further still. I used the liquify, which is here, liquify, there it is there. I clicked on that, and I simply, with a circle, pulled the lips out a bit to stretch it. So you can see if I zoom out just now, that was before and after. I think it's perfectly fine like that, but I've just done it purely for illustrative purposes. And then what I've done, which I've included in the series of tutorials on Moodle in task 2, I've used plastic wrap. Plastic wrap basically adds a bit of sheen to the lips. So if I click on this and I knock the opacity of this right up, why is that not showing? Not sure why that's not showing. There we are, because I'm not on that layer. So if I knock that up, that's how it looks. Obviously horrific. But if you knock that right down to 3 or 4%, and then click on and off, it's just giving it a little bit of punch, and then just lifting it a little bit further, and that's it. So if I close that down, and if I was to just take this and this and group them together, before and after, and that's exactly the same process, other than the plastic wrap, exactly the same process as painting the hut. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to select any picture that you want, and I want you to very, very carefully and subtly and creatively change the colour, whether it's a t-shirt, a dress, a can of Coke, a beach hut, somebody's lips, whatever, I don't care. But do it, and do it well.